Hi, everyone. Our wonderful council president is unfortunately not feeling well, so I am stepping in for her tonight. My name is Anna Peters, and I have the honor of serving as the LISD Council of PTAs Advocacy Chair. On behalf of the entire PTA Council, I want to extend a warm welcome to our dedicated parents, educators, board members, students, and community members who are here tonight. We gather for one of the most important events in our local civic calendar that we are very honored to host, the School Board Candidate Forum. Our board members hold immense responsibility making decisions that shape the educational experience, safety, and future success of every child in our district. PTA believes that engaged communities are essential to a successful school system, and tonight is the very definition of engagement. Leading our discussion will be our moderator, Angela Llewellyn. Angela is an ambassador with Braver Angels, an organization that seeks to bridge the partisan divide in American politics. She's a member of the League of Women Voters, and she was an educator in Lewisville ISD for 30 years. Angela, thank you for guiding us through this important process. Serving as our official timekeeper is we are honored to have one of our very own talented students, Anushka Kolotkar, a current Marcus High School junior, who so admirably represented LISD at the 2025 Rally Day Student Caucus at the Texas Capitol. Anushka, we appreciate you helping keep us on track tonight. The goals of tonight's forum are straightforward and vital to PTA's mission: to provide an opportunity to hear the candidates discuss important issues facing our public schools, and to help voters make informed decisions as they head to the polls. We encourage everyone to listen respectfully and thoughtfully. This is an important public service, and by being here, you're investing directly into the future of our children. Without further ado, I turn the floor over to our moderator, Angela Llewellyn.
Thank you, Anna. And again, welcome to the Fall 2025 Lewisville ISD Candidate Forum for the Lewisville ISD Board of Trustees election. Joining us this evening, we have Michelle Alcotty and Madison Lopez, candidates for the at-large Place 6 position. We are so grateful to our two candidates for dedicating their time and energy to public service. We thank you both for your commitment to our students. Anushka is going to explain our format for tonight. So Anushka, if you're ready.
Candidate will give a 2-minute opening statement. Following the opening statements, we will have a series of questions where each candidate will have 2 minutes to answer. I will keep time and hold up cards indicating when you have 60 seconds, 30 seconds, 15 seconds, and then 0 time remaining. I will also say time if your answer continues past the time limit. We will close the forum with each candidate presenting a conclusion, if time permits, no longer than 2 minutes.
Thank you. And prior to the forum, the candidates drew for the rotation of who will give opening remarks first. And then for round one opening remarks, we will start the rotation with Madison and then proceed to Michelle. This will continue, this two-person rotation, until the questions are finished and all candidates have given their closing statements. So if our timekeeper is ready. Thank you. So yes, they should be already on, and we're going to begin with the 2-minute opening statement from Madison.
Well, good evening, everyone. It's a pleasure to be with you all. My name is Madison Lopez, and I'm running for Place 6. I am a mom, an attorney, and a former prosecutor, but before all of that, I was a student here in LISD. I grew up here in Lewisville schools. And when my family first moved to this area over 20 years ago, we were living below the poverty line. But it was because of LISD's incredible programs, staff, and the families that poured into me that I was able to receive a high-quality education. And I want to let you know that my story does not exist in isolation. There are thousands upon thousands of students who have success stories coming out of this district because, historically, we have been committed to excellence. And that's why I'm running, to ensure that we stay on a path that's committed to excellence in all areas. Right now, districts across the state of Texas are facing significant challenges. We're facing budget issues, declining enrollment, and the reality of school closures, both for budget reasons and for poor ratings. I've lived in this community for over 20 years. I'm the daughter of an educator who worked in LISD for 16 years, and I love this district. We have to ensure the long-term financial health of our district and be good stewards of taxpayer dollars to ensure that LISD stays strong for generations of students to come. We also need more transparency and communication with our community, especially when it comes to major decisions like school closures. Parents and city officials should not learn of major district decisions like the one relating to Mill Street from a Facebook post. Parents and municipalities deserve a seat at the table, and they deserve to understand when, how, and why major decisions are being made. I bring to the board a fresh perspective of a young mom, an attorney who is service-oriented, and a person who has a deep personal connection to this district. I bring a commitment to listening and leading with integrity. Thank you.
First of all, I'd like to thank the LISD Council of PTAs for putting on this event tonight, and thank you to the League of Women Voters for being our moderator, and thank you for being our timekeeper. I am running because I believe in strong public schools, accountability focused on student success, fiscal responsibility, and the power of community leadership that puts students and taxpayers first. My family and I have been proud taxpayers and residents of this district for over 21 years. As a former teacher and principal, I have a unique perspective on how district policies and decisions we make at the board table directly impact the classrooms, the educators, and the families. I have spent my entire career focused on helping students succeed. I bring that same commitment to every decision that I make as a trustee. On the board, I serve as the chair of the Advocacy Committee, ensuring that our district's voice is heard in Austin on issues that affect public education and local control. I also serve on the audit, the district recognition, and the board operating procedures committee, keeping our focus on that financial transparency, the accountability, and the fairness across the district, while also celebrating the successes and achievements of our students and our staff. My service to LISD began long before I was elected. I have been deeply involved in the roots of volunteering through PTA on campuses. I served on various district committees, such as the District Advisory Council, the Superintendent Committee, Key Communicators, the Long Range Planning Committee. I have served with LEF for multiple years. I have worked side by side with parents, educators, and community members to strengthen our schools. As a trustee, I have worked hard to ensure that we are good stewards of taxpayer dollars. We maintain fair and consistent policies, and we will continue doing this. I am proud of the progress that we've made, but there is still more work to be done. With your support, I will continue advocating for responsible governance. Thank you.
So thank you both for sharing your background and experience. And the questions will now start to alternate as we go through the rest of the rounds. And so, Michelle, this first one is for you, and that is, which aspect of your background and experience makes you uniquely qualified to serve as a school board trustee?
Sure. I've talked about my experience in my intro. As a former teacher and educator, that gives me a unique perspective in order to maintain and understand the policies and what's going on our campuses and understand how families are interacting. I have been involved in this district for multiple years, way before I was elected. As a young parent, I was involved. I was on the campuses. I was volunteering. I was telling my opponent that baby in the back hit her son. My kids were that age when I was on campuses doing book fair. I have been long involved. PTA is a huge part of that. PTA helps give me the advocacy, that knowledge, and serving on those board district committees was a huge factor because it allowed me to get that insight of what the district is and what I needed to understand. I have been involved for years, and all of that experience, my education, being a parent, being an educator, being a volunteer, has put me where I am today.
And Madison, would you like me to repeat the question? I think I'll do that each time as we go. So which aspect in your background and experience makes you uniquely qualified to serve as a school board trustee?
More than anything, I would say the fact that I have lived the LISD success story. I graduated salutatorian of Lewisville High School, so I've seen what has worked and what hasn't worked in our public school system. I believe that public education is the foundation for a healthy society, and the fact that I have lived this in some of our most vulnerable schools. I've walked the halls of the Lewisville feeder schools. That's my story. I went to Parkway Elementary. I went to Hedrick Middle School, and I went to Lewisville High School, where I graduated from. I'm a fighting farmer. I've told you all of of you that I've spoken to that I bleed maroon in this room. But I think that more than anything provides a very unique perspective to the board. And the fact that I also have been involved. I've been involved since my time in the schools. I've had the opportunity to serve as a reading buddy through communities and schools. I've volunteered throughout my community. And I think that this is it's a critical thing for the people that are on the board to have served in their community. So not only do I bring a young, youthful perspective that can relate to students and the challenges that they're facing, but I also have the experience of serving with these students and for these students.
And Madison, this one will be yours.
I'll remember to stay standing. This is going to happen multiple times, I'm sure.
So this is a little bit of a long one, and I'll repeat any parts of it that are needed. Serving on the school board requires a significant time commitment beyond the monthly meetings, including reviewing board materials, attending work sessions, participating in committee work, and engaging with the community. Can you share how you've prepared to meet these demands and what specific experiences or strategies you'll draw on to ensure you can fulfill the responsibilities of a board member effectively and consistently?
So as an attorney and as a former prosecutor, I am very used to long hours, looking at lots of information, making decisions, looking at problems, and deciding what the best course of action is. I believe that my time in law school has uniquely prepared me for this situation where I have had to spend long hours, long nights looking at endless information to make sure that I am on top of things, that I am on top of making decisions by the deadline, and doing that for not just myself, but for other people. So as an attorney, as a prosecutor specifically, I was serving my community, and this is going to be no different. I'm very used to serving people with long hours, and on top of that, I am a mom, and so I'm taking care of my baby, but I have decided to resign from the district attorney's office here in Denton County, so I have even more time on my hands. I am ready, I am excited, and I'm willing and enthusiastic to spend the long hours that it takes to be a committed and strong board member. Thank you.
I'll let you repeat it.
Oh, yes. Serving on the school board requires a significant time commitment beyond monthly meetings, including reviewing board materials, attending work sessions, participating in committee work, and engaging with the community. Can you share how you've prepared to meet these demands and what specific experiences or strategies you will draw on to ensure you can fulfill the responsibilities of a board member effectively and consistently?
Yeah, absolutely. This is not a joke for a job. And I use the word job loosely because we do not get paid a single dollar. This is a completely volunteer position that we do. This week alone, I have on my calendar 28 hours that I am devoting to the school district in seeing the campuses, visiting, going and talking to teachers, and meeting, and going to LEF, and going to all these others, going to the Council of PTAs. That does not even include the amount of reading and research I'm going to have to do in order to prepare for next week's board meeting. So all in all, I will spend about 40 to 45 hours this week alone in preparation. It is no joke. This is a time-consuming job, but I love it. I was made for this. As an educator, as a mom of 4 children who are in all different directions, I am constantly on the go. I serve on boards of multiple nonprofits in the area. I work with our state legislators. I work with our local leaders as well, because that is what's important. You know, this morning it was shown in a session that we had, there was an iceberg. You know, what's above it looks pretty. Yes, you're doing the research. Yes, you're attending here. Nobody understands what goes on behind the scenes or under that water where the iceberg is. There is a lot that goes into this. All of my preparation as an educator, as a mom, as a volunteer has put me where I am today and has prepared me to be able to continue serving.
Will be your question as well. So what are your opinions on the recent bills passed by the Texas House, such as Senate Bill 2, from the Texas legislature, such as Senate Bill 2, the school funding bill, Senate Bill 13, the school library materials bill, and Senate Bill 12, parental rights bill?
It's been an interesting legislative session that we've sat through, and it was a long one. And did we get what we needed? No. But it was worth us working with those state legislators so that they could hear our voices. And that is the power that we have sitting as a trustee, sitting as a PTA member, so that they can hear what we are asking for, what we need in our local school district. Parents have the rights to their students' education. I firmly believe that. And in SB 12, there's a lot of information that goes into that. The library bill, there's a lot of information. Here's the thing that we've noticed with the new legislations that came out. Our legislators meet every 2 years. And when they meet every 2 years, they give us this information, and we have to turn around. That's how we have to teach in our classrooms. This is what our teachers have to do. We had a short turnaround time on a lot of these legislative bills that came out of this last session, and we are still trying to implement them and understand them. So while I am continuing to dive in and make sure that we are fitting our policies, and we're working, because I'm on the policy committee, working to make sure that we are auditing and putting all of those pieces together so that we are ensuring the most important piece, that our students will be successful. Because at the end of the day, that's what we're here for. Everything that we do, everything that we talk about, every conversation we have has to put those students first. And that's what we're doing as a board, as an administration. We're looking at those SBs and the HBs to make sure that they are what our students need and how we're going to implement it.
And Madison, the question is, what are your opinions on the recent bills passed by the Texas legislature, such as Senate Bill 2, the school funding bill, Senate Bill 13, the school library materials bill, and Senate Bill 12, the parental rights bill?
Like Michelle said, a lot happened. This was a groundbreaking session, legislative session for education, and we are absolutely navigating a changing policy space in education. And so I believe that we need someone on the board who is used to working with the law, that understands legal jargon, that understands the technical language, and is familiar with these things so that they can feel comfortable and confident advocating in Austin, advocating with our representatives to get what our students need. With SB 2, we didn't get everything we wanted, but we made steps in the right direction, and there is still more to do with advocacy in Austin. So I would be a strong advocate for funding our public schools. I think that this basic student allotment needs to be increased. I want to make sure that our students have everything that they need in the classrooms to succeed, and so that's where I stand on SB 2. SB 2, there were several there. Can you repeat them?
Yes. Senate Bill 13 was the school library materials, and Senate Bill 12 was parental rights bill.
SB 13, it's going to take a lot of effort to coordinate with our staff, with our parents, making sure that we are able to navigate these difficult and changing policy landscapes. I want to be someone who listens to every single stakeholder. I want to be someone that communicates with our community, that collaborates and is willing to listen to all sides, because we know that some of these bills were highly controversial. We understand that. And so as a board member, it's my job to listen, to take the information in, and to make the best decisions for our students and what they need in the classrooms, and for our teachers. They need support. They're navigating this just like us. They're navigating this just like the students. And so I want to be there for our students, for our teachers, and especially our parents.
Madison? This one's good.
Yes,
I know it's.
I'll get it.
You feel like, okay. So this one's two parts. How are you planning to navigate through the Lewisville ISD legislative priorities and public school needs? And then what do you think should be the top advocacy priority at the state level?
Absolutely. So how do we navigate this? One, we make sure that we are collaborating with our community. We listen, and we actually go and do the work in Austin. We have to advocate for our students, for our teachers, and for our community, for our parents and families that are taxpayers in this district. I want to make sure that we're listening to all stakeholders, and that takes a lot of time and a lot of effort, as I know Michelle knows, and she explained beautifully to you guys. This takes a lot of time and effort, and we have to be ready and willing to take in all of this information and go down to Austin. Can you please repeat part 2?
Absolutely, yes. What do you think should be the top advocacy priority at the state level?
Funding our public schools, increasing the basic student allotment. Like I said before, I want to make sure that our students get exactly what they need in their classrooms, that we're able to pay our teachers, that we're able to invest in high quality curriculums. I want to make sure that they have everything that they need, that we have the aides and the lunch monitors, everything that we need to lighten the load for our teachers. And I think that on top of advocating for more funding, there are other things that we can do to ensure that we even have that money. So I want to make sure that we're advocating, and this is something that we would have to have community support with, and we would have to collaborate as a board, but I would love to see a full audit of the Texas Education Agency. I think that that would be critical. There are millions of dollars that are being spent in a bureaucracy that could be going to our classrooms. I want to make sure that the money is going to the right places. I want to make sure that that money goes to the classrooms and not to a bureaucracy, an overbloated TEA. I want to make sure that we are listening to the taxpayers, and that's something that is becoming more and more of a bipartisan issue, making sure that TEA is doing what they're supposed to be doing. The next audit of the TEA is supposed to happen in a few years, and I think that we need to see that sooner.
And the two parts are, How are you planning to navigate through the Lewisville ISD legislative priorities and public school needs? What do you think should be the top advocacy priority at the state level?
Advocacy is one of the most important roles of a school board member. It is the heart of an effective leadership. It means standing up for our students, our families, and our staff, ensuring that decisions are made at every single level, truly reflecting the needs and the values of our community, and that they have a seat at the table. That is the key. Our community deserves the seat at the table. For me, being an advocate starts with listening. It's about understanding what our parents need, what our teachers need to teach effectively, and what taxpayers expect in terms of transparency and stewardship, while making those thoughtful, hard decisions that keep students at the center of the focus. Whether it's in a board meeting, at the Capitol, or in our community, I work to be a strong, steady voice for all students, because that is why we are here. Every background, every campus, not just one feeder, every classroom across our district. My goal is to make sure that every child in our district has access to a safe, supportive, and high-quality education that prepares them for life beyond graduation. I'm committed to standing up for what's right, with integrity, transparency, and a steady focus on students. And we do need to continue advocating in Austin for funding and for our teachers' pay. Our teachers are needing to be compensated for what they are doing. Educators are not entering into the field these days because of the compensation, because of all those extra pressures that they are getting in Austin, that they are getting nationally. We need to make sure that they are taken care of, because when they're taken care of, our students are taken care of. And we need to look at the funding. We were given a little bullet. We were just given a little tiny piece, a nugget. We need more.
And here's the question. How do you see Lewisville ISD responding to the competition of charter schools and private schools?
LISD is one LISD. We are the one choice. We have always been an open district, and we will continue being an open district. We have amazing programs that go throughout our district. If you have never been to one of our tech centers, you need to go, because I am telling you, it is not anything like you've ever imagined. We have students who are graduating with welding and dental hygiene, all these different programs, culinary. It is an amazing place. And that's just at our 2 tech centers. That doesn't even include what we have going on our local campuses through CTEs and the opportunities for leadership. We have one of our students here today who was able to go down to Austin. She was selected out of all the students in the state of Texas to represent the student body at the PTA rally. We have opportunities. And if we keep promoting it, if we keep sharing all the great things that we have going on in this district, people want to come. We have a lot of students from outside the district because we have been an open district, and we will continue doing that. We are one LASD, the one choice.
And Madison, the question is, how do you see Lewisville ISD responding to the competition of charter schools and private schools?
Absolutely. So we need to continue what we're doing well already. As just explained, we do a lot of things really well. Our tech centers are incredible. You do actually need to go visit them. You need to go visit the cafe where the students actually make food for you. It's incredible. We already do a lot of things very well. And from my perspective, I think fine arts are one of the biggest things that we do incredibly. Shout out to the Marcus Band at the, I see that, and at the Bands of America competition. That just highlights what we do exceptionally well, and we need to continue investing in the things that we do exceptionally well. However, if we only keep doing the things that we're doing and we don't do more, if we don't have creative ideas, if we don't explore other options, then we're going to continue seeing declining enrollment. And I think that it's important for us to explore anything and everything that will make us more competitive. Yes, we need to expand our academic programs like college prep coursework, or making sure that our students know about and are encouraged to participate in our dual credit opportunities. I think that there's a lot that we can do. Yes, we need to market ourselves, but let's look at other options. What are other districts doing? We need to look at other types of education. Our STEM schools do exceptionally well. Should we look more into doing that? Should we look at some classical education aspects? What is it that other places are doing? And let's do it too. Let's try things out. Let's experiment. And I think one thing that parents really look at when they're deciding on a school or a district, when they're making this big decision for their children, they're looking at culture and they're looking at the communication from the district and the schools. And that's where we can improve. I believe that our communication to our district, to our constituents, to our taxpayers has to improve. We just saw an incredible moment on Facebook where Mill Street is now going to be a preschool, and it took a lot of our community members by surprise. It took our city council members by surprise, and that's not okay. That's unacceptable, and we need to make sure that we are giving communication to our community in the right time, in the right way, and that would make us more competitive.
And Madison, this next question, this is a little bit of a long one. In this current environment of reduced and unpredictable public school funding, what are the top 3 immediate and long-term financial challenges facing LISD? And then the second part, what specific sustainable strategies will you advocate to maintain our commitment to excellence and guarantee high-quality educational delivery for all 46,000 of our students?
Absolutely. So maintenance and operations takes millions of dollars. Making sure that we have enough money that's keeping up with the cost of inflation is one of the biggest challenges. We need to make sure that we are advocating at the state level for that money. And I would love to keep taxes low. That is one of my priorities. And so I want to make sure that we have enough money, but we also are keeping our taxes low so that parents and families are choosing this area for the thriving economy and for the thriving schools. I also think that teacher compensation needs to be increased, and that's one of our biggest challenges. How do we make sure that we pay our teachers, and how do we make sure that we're lightening the load for them? Currently, teachers are working what feels like hours and hours on end just to keep their heads above water. And so, yes, it's about pay, but it's also about how can we decrease the hours? What do we need to give them? And that is support in the classroom, whether that's aides or monitors for lunch, just increasing the support that they receive, that professional development, making sure that they're getting that. And can you repeat the second question? I'm sorry.
Absolutely, yes. What specific sustainable strategies will you advocate to maintain our commitment to excellence and guarantee high-quality educational delivery for all 46,000 students?
Absolutely. So this does also come back to funding. So at the state level, yes, we're going to advocate for more funding, but I would love to advocate for an audit of the TEA, like I've already explained. And I also think that our legislators need to re-examine the policy of recapture. Millions of dollars are taken away from our district every single year, and I think that it's important that we give local control back to our community. I would love to see our tax dollars stay right here. And so that's something that I would advocate for at the state level. And so obviously the more money we have, the more we can invest in students, invest in teachers, invest in the classroom. And I would want to keep the dollars in the classroom because that's where student success happens.
So Michelle? In this current environment of reduced and unpredictable public school funding, what are the top 3 immediate and long-term financial challenges facing LISD? And the second part, what specific sustainable strategies will you advocate to maintain our commitment to excellence and guarantee high-quality educational delivery for all 46,000 of our students?
It's a mouthful. Those two questions kind of go hand in hand. First and foremost, it's funding. We're going to continue advocating in Austin with our legislators and at the local level about our funding because it is really, really important that they hear us. Yes, we got a nugget. We got a little piece that we were able to compensate some of our teachers, but we have many more that impact our students' lives. There are many more that goes into it, from the bus driver to the custodian to the lunch monitor to the teachers in the classroom, the nurses, the administrators. All of them should be compensated and treated fairly because we need them in order to make those students succeed. And so with the funding, with the teacher retention, those two pieces come hand in hand. Go for the second question again.
Absolutely.
Sorry.
Yes. What specific sustainable strategies will you advocate to maintain our commitment to excellence and guarantee high-quality educational delivery for all 46,000 students?
And what we're going to continue doing is we're going to continue reviewing the budget. We're going to continue looking into it. We're going to continue looking at those numbers and thinking outside the box, because that's what we do in LASD. We do not take the straight path. We do not do what everybody else is doing. We do what is best for LASD and our students and our community. And that's what we're going to continue doing. We're going to continue looking at that and thinking through, meeting with our administrators, meeting with our chiefs, meeting with all of those teachers and students, parents, and families and communities. How are we best going to impact this community in LASD? Because we are a fantastic district. And so we will continue working with them, working alongside them, so that we can advocate together as a strong voice for funding and teacher retention.
And the question next is, how will you work to lower the Lewisville ISD tax rate? Please consider how you will reduce the maintenance and operation tax rate as well as the interest and sinking tax rate.
All right, so technically our INS has been reduced 4 cents, and our M&O has increased 4 cents. So right there, we have increased our M&O in order to give us that maintenance and operation. And we have lowered our INS over the last few years, and we've lowered it 4 cents. And so we have been working on that. And one of the things that I want to make clear is one misconception in school finance is that the district controls the entire property tax. One of the biggest misconceptions in school finance is that the district controls the entire property tax bill. That is simply not the truth. The district only controls the INS, which is what we adopt, which funds our voter-approved bonds for things like the building maintenance, the safety upgrades, and the major capital outlays. We have over 10 million square feet of facilities in LASD throughout our 127 square miles. I am proud that as a board, we've been financially responsible, and we've been proactive. We have lowered the INS, as I mentioned, 4 cents, due to strong debt management, and are still paying off our bonds early, saving taxpayers millions of dollars over time. When property values rise, it's the appraisal values that's set by the county, not the district, that causes homeowners to see those higher bills. Even when we lower our tax rate, many still feel an increase because of those appraisals. Our commitment remains the same: to be good stewards of the taxpayer dollars, manage debt wisely, and make sure that every cent collected in our community is used transparently and responsibility, once again, to benefit our students and our schools.
And Madison, the question is, how will you work to lower the Lewisville ISD tax rate? Please consider how you will reduce the maintenance and operation tax rate as well as the interest and sinking tax rate.
I think the number one thing is debt management. We have to live within our means. Just like any family or business that wants to be successful in the future, we have to decide that we're living within our means. And that's going to take some tough decision making. As an attorney, I'm used to making those tough decisions. As having a family, we're used to making those tough decisions. I currently rent my house. I'm not a homeowner yet, so I'm used to being broke like our district. So I want to make sure that we're making those tough decisions right now, so that we don't have to make those even harder decisions later on for students that aren't going to have the same quality of education that I got because we weren't smart with our money. Yes, we have reduced the deficit, but we can take further steps. I want to make sure that we're going line by line. We're looking at not only what we're spending our money on, but why we're spending our money on things. What programs are effective? Are we managing things correctly? An audit of the budget is not going to just say, oh, we're looking at spending this amount of money. We're really looking in depth at why we're spending the money that we're spending. I want to make sure that we're getting input from our community as we make these long-term financial decisions. There is a lot happening in our district, and I want to make sure that we have a long-term facilities plan, a comprehensive facilities plan to consider falling enrollment. We need to consider that the state may not give us more money. So let's take things conservatively and make sure that we're planning out in the future so that we're not closing top-performing schools when there are low-performing schools that were already on the brink of closure. And we've spent millions of dollars in bond money renovating campuses only for those campuses to then close shortly after. We want to make sure we're spending our money wisely, and managing our debt correctly, and lowering the deficit. Thank you. I didn't sit down.
Yes. So school finance common theme for tonight, is one of the most complex issues facing our district. Could you describe your specific experience in school finance and explain how that knowledge will directly contribute to stronger, more informed decision-making on the board? And then furthermore, what concrete steps will you take to educate the public and build greater understanding of the budget and funding challenges?
At the ripe old age of 26, I do not have a lot of experience with school budgeting, and I will be completely honest with you, but I can say that I am an exceptionally quick study. I graduated from law school. I became a prosecutor. You're going to hear me say that a lot because I'm proud of it. Yes, there's a JD on my side. Okay, so because I am a quick study, I am more than willing to commit and to devote the hours that it takes to make sure I fully understand the budget. I have looked at the budget. I've looked at it extensively. I'm not spending the hours and hours and hours on end just yet that the board has spent looking at these things, but I am confident that I'm going to be able to understand these things, and I have already begun my studies. I am ready and I am willing to listen to our community. I'm ready and willing to spend the hours devoting to understanding our budget and where we need to what we need to work on. And so, yes, I can easily admit to you that at the ripe old age of 26, I do not have that type of education or experience, but I'm ready to start. And I have already started. So if you can put a little bit of trust in a former prosecutor, hopefully that's the trustworthy attorney, I'm happy to do the work.
And the question is, school finance is one of the most complex issues facing our district. Could you describe your specific expertise in school finance and explain how that knowledge will directly contribute to stronger, more informed decision-making on the board? Furthermore, what concrete steps would you take to educate the public and build greater understanding of our budget and funding challenge?
School finance is incredibly, incredibly hard to understand. And we know that. And I know that as a board member, as a former administrator. I knew it as a classroom teacher. And then when I got into all those positions, managing those budgets, looking at those numbers and understanding what is being allocated here and there, it is very, very complicated. But we are committed as a board and as a community group to continue working with our community so that they understand the different buckets. You guys all heard us preaching up here about the golden and copper pennies, about the INS buckets and the M&O buckets and what can be used from here and what can be used from there, because that is what is important. It is important for our community to understand, just like I just talked to you about the INS. It's important for you to understand. You know, she mentioned earlier about the buildings with the bonds and, oh, they're beautiful, and yes, we've closed some campuses. Those are from different funds, completely different things. And so people have to understand what is an M&O and what is an INS and what can we use those funds for. I will continue working with the community to help educate them and to continue doing it. I will continue taking a fine comb down those budgets and looking at them and asking the questions. We have an amazing CFO and financial team where if we have questions, we can go to them and say, hey, did we think about this? How are they utilizing this over on the east side versus the west side? How is this campus working like this versus this campus when they have the same needs? I will continue having those conversations, and I will continue doing the work to make sure that everybody understands, that I understand, so that I can communicate it to our community.
Thank you. And the next question, Michelle. Community trust is built through transparency and engagement. How do you plan to stay connected with parents, educators, and students to ensure their voices are reflected in board decisions? And how will you balance that with the need to make some sometimes unpopular but necessary choices? What is your experience in doing that?
We've made some unpopular choices recently. I'm sure you've all heard. It is really important. One of the biggest pieces of me is my integrity, my honesty, and my transparency. I lead with that. That is how I ran my classroom. That's how I ran my family. That's how I run in the community. That's how I work with the nonprofits, because it is very important for everything to be transparent and everyone understand all of the moving pieces. I don't want to hear that parents say that they were blindsided or that they didn't have the information. That's hurtful, because then that means we didn't reach them the appropriate way. And we need to find out those ways that we're not reaching them. And if I need to go into the community, which I do a lot of, I go and I meet with them. Hey, let's have a call. Let's do a coffee. Let's go meet here. Bring whoever you want. Let's have the conversation. Let's talk about it. Give me some ideas. Give me some suggestions. What can we do in order to work together as a community to continue building that transparency? Because I firmly believe that we have to be transparent, and I'm going to lead with integrity, and I'm going to continue to be honest. Yes, we make very tough decisions. Not all decisions are made that are easy, and we're not always going to agree as a board, and that's okay. because we each have our values, we each have our opinions, and I'm talking to community members, and then I can have those conversations with other board members when we're sitting here in work session or other administrators. Hey, did we think about this? Have we looked at this option? And then we go from there.
Madison, community trust is built through transparency and engagement. How do you plan to stay connected with parents, educators, and students to ensure that their voices are reflected in board decisions? And how will you balance that with the need to make sometimes unpopular but necessary choices? What is your experience in doing that?
Transparency and trust are the number one things for me. I want to make sure that we're listening to our community. I've said that a million times already, but we understand that there are parents and families in this district that have felt blindsided, that have felt confused or concerned about some of the decision-making processes. This is concerning to me. I believe that if I'm able to be on the board, that I would bring not only fresh perspectives and ideas on how to communicate with our community, but I think that I already know how to do that. As a Gen Z, I am used to being on social media all the time. I would utilize social media in a new way to make sure that our community is aware of what's going on, that they are aware of how they can give their input. We have lots of surveys that we do in the district, and I think that if we put those out even more, if we communicate to our community even more, then that is going to be critical. That's going to be paramount to making more informed decisions as a board. I also want to make sure that we're reaching out more effectively through every single communication mechanism, not just social media. Yes, we can do one-on-ones. Being a stay-at-home mom, my schedule is very flexible. I'm able to meet with community members whenever I'm able to. I'll bring the baby with me. I want to make sure that we're utilizing email. Yes, social media. I want to make sure that we let people know that they need to be at board meetings. As a young person, I think that I have a very unique ability to relate not only to students but young parents. Many of our young parents in elementary schools are my age. I'm able to have conversations with these individuals and relate to people to let them know you need to be involved. Our community needs you. We need your input. I have been an advocate for people being engaged for a long time, even though I'm only 26. I've gotten people involved in community organizations, gotten people involved on campus organizations. I've co-founded organizations. I've led organizations on campuses and in my community. So I'm well acquainted with getting people involved, and I'm excited to do that for the board.
So the question is, how do you plan to engage voters who are disconnected from our public schools, ensuring these vital community members are both informed about our needs and regularly exposed to the positive results and high quality of our school environment?
So I think the number one thing is letting people know how they're impacted by our decisions. Everyone here is a taxpayer. We need to let them know that the decisions that we make from the board, from these seats right up here, it's impacting their pocketbook, not just the tax rates, but the decisions to close schools, open schools. All of those decisions impact how our community is perceived. It impacts people's decisions to move here. It impacts our economy. So even if people don't have students in the district, it's incredibly important to communicate to them that they are needed, they are necessary. We need those people to help us make informed decisions. I think that it not only is important for them, but the more that we have engagement from the public, the better our students succeed, the more our students succeed. To know that a community is supporting you, to know that a community is behind you and helping make critical decisions is so important. I know for me and my experience in LISD, I thrived the most when I knew that there were families, communities supporting us through PTA, through engagement, people coming and providing support through my fundraising efforts as a little elementary school kid. That's so critical to have everybody engaged, and I'm excited to encourage people to be all the more engaged.
Michelle, how do you plan to engage voters who are disconnected from our public schools, ensuring these vital community members are both informed about our needs and regularly exposed to the positive results and high quality of our school environment?
Absolutely. It's very important for everyone to be engaged. All community members, because they are an intricate part to this. It is our educators, it is our families, and it is our community members. It is important to make sure that we go out and we reach them where they need to be. We need to make sure that we are educating them. We are keeping them abreast of what's going on in the district. They are taxpayers. Their money is helping support this district. Their property values are there because of where they live. I know when I moved into this district, I didn't have children yet. I bought my home because of the things that I had heard about this district. That's why I moved here. So those young community members, those older community members, they all have a value that they're bringing. And we need to make sure that we're listening to them and bringing them in. We have multiple committees throughout the district that we do invite the community members into. We ask the community who wants to be a part of this, and we invite them in. And I have community members that come up to me and say, you know what? I'm getting into LASD. What can I learn? Where do I need to go? Great. Let me put you on a committee. Let me send you over to this PTA who needs some help and support. Let me show you the path that you need to go in order to get engaged and involved in this district. You do not have to have children in this district to be engaged and involved. Everybody is part of it. We are a community here in LASD, and every single member of that is important. And so I will continue reaching out to them. I will continue advocating and making sure that they understand and answering those questions and getting them involved.
Well, and just so you have a sense of time, we've now completed 10 questions. We have 6 more to go. Excellent energy and enthusiasm. I'm loving this. So, Michelle, if elected, once the Lewisville ISD School Board votes to approve an action or policy, what do you believe is your responsibility to that policy or action, especially if you did not support that policy or action?
First and foremost, anytime we get a policy, it comes from legal or it comes from local. And that's where we really talk to our attorney and we make sure that we understand it. And if I don't understand those questions, I'm going to go talk to the people where that policy comes from. Whether it has to do with technology, it has to do with financial, wherever it comes from, I'm going to make sure that I ask those questions to understand the ins and outs of that policy. Because that is something that we're going to be looking at. And if I don't agree with something that's in there, I'm going to ask those questions. I'm going to play devil's advocate. And I'm going to ask, hey, have we thought about this? Have we considered that? Have we looked at this option? But at the end of the day, when a policy is approved and it has gone through the lengthy process, no matter what that vote is, no matter where I stood, I stand supported with my board and my district because that is how we operate. I will support that policy as it comes out, and I will continue implementing it and showing what needs to be done.
Addison, if elected, once the Lewisville ISD School Board votes to approve an action or policy, what do you believe is your responsibility to that policy or action, especially if you did not support that policy or action?
As an attorney, I am a by-the-book girl. I want to make sure that we are complying with what we need to at the state level, complying with policies and procedures. When we're advised by general counsel to do something, I'm ready and willing to do that and to be in full support of that. When there are things that I disagree with, you're going to know. I am a passionate advocate, and so you're going to understand and know where I stand on the issues. I think it's important for our community to know and for our board members to know where we stand on the issues. And so when there are things that come up, I want to make sure that my voice is heard because that's why I would have been elected to the board, to have my voice heard, to represent the public, and to represent every single taxpayer. Now, when there is disagreement, I personally think disagreement is good and healthy. We need outside perspectives. We need different opinions to make sure that we're not just a feedback loop, to make sure that we're not living in an echo chamber. We need disagreement, but we need healthy disagreement. And so I would love to make sure that those on the board know my perspective, but at the end of the day, we're going to collaborate. We're going to come up with the best solutions and the best decisions for our students. And I am a happy team player, and I want people to know where I stand on the issues. But like I said, I'm a by-the-book girl, so if the state tells us that we have to do something, we have to do that. Make sure that we're not getting sued by the state of Texas.
And the next question. As a school board member, how would you respond to the efforts of special interest groups who advocate the censor of existing curriculum perceived by them to be in conflict with their personal beliefs?
I think it's important to listen to all stakeholders. Absolutely. We have to sit down and listen and meet with people. Like I just said, disagreement is good. We have to be willing and open to engage in a dialogue. We have to make sure that we are compliant with state law. We have to make sure that we are teaching our students the TEKS. But I am more than happy, more than willing to listen to anybody and everybody's perspective. And I get a lot of flack for that. I'm willing to listen to people on the far ends of both spectrums. And I take pride in that. I want to be a helpful listener. I want to be someone who engages with people and actually has genuine dialogue with people. And I think that that is critical to turning down the temperature in a lot of our politically divisive environment. I want to make sure that they feel heard. That doesn't mean that we're going to agree on everything, but if we don't take the time to listen to community members, then we're creating distrust. We're sowing dissension in our own community, and I don't want to be a part of that. I want to be a part of the dialogue. I want to be part of solutions, and I'm here to listen to the community.
Michelle, as a school board member, how would you respond to the efforts of special interest groups who advocate the censor of existing curriculum perceived by them to be in conflict with their personal beliefs?
Sure. First and foremost, I'm going to listen as well. I'm going to give the community the seat at the table. I'm going to listen to what they have to say. But at the end of the day, we talked about policy and we talked about following those policies, and that's what we're going to have to do. And some of those things that they are bringing up or having those conversations around is out of our control. We are at the mercy of our state legislators. We are at the mercy. They tell us what we can and can't teach. They give us the teaks. They tell us how it has to be taught. In legislation, we saw many things happen that some people did not agree with and some people do. And we're still having to implement it. But I'm going to listen to them. I'm going to listen to them why they have their opinion that they do. And I'm going to then explain to them what I know from my side and where we stand and why we are having to implement what we have to implement. So I'm going to give them the seat, but at the end of the day, we have to follow the law. We have to follow those policies because that is what we are here to do.
As parents, we can pull our children out of a class that has an incompetent teacher. However, as a school board, you are responsible for all children. How will you ensure that teachers are properly evaluated and held accountable?
Sure. As a school board, there's different levels. School board, we're at the 30,000 view, right? That's administration. Now, if I hear conversations, I have lots of parents who come to me on a regular basis. Hey, I have this issue with this teacher. I have this issue with this administrator. I give them the information that they need to make sure that they are following those chain of commands. Did you go talk to your principal? That's the first and foremost. Did you go talk to them? And what was the resolution? And then from there, where did you go? Did you go to the next step? Because the board is here to listen to you, but we are not here to do the day-to-day. We are not here. Now, I can contact Dr. Rapp. I can contact one of our chiefs. Hey, I'm hearing that there's a lot of concern happening at this campus with this teacher. Can you look into it? That is what we are here for. It is not for me to go in and make those decisions and get rid of a teacher or reprimand a teacher, make sure that those policies, because we have hired our superintendent to make sure that all of those things are being met underneath. That is what we are here for as a school board.
And Madison, as parents, we can pull our children out of a class that has an incompetent teacher. However, as a school board, you are responsible for all children. How will you ensure that teachers are properly evaluated and held accountable?
Michelle makes a great point that the institution of the board is about governance. We're not there to micromanage the day-to-day of a classroom. However, evaluation of our teachers is incredibly important. We have mechanisms for evaluating teachers already. We ask them to do X, Y, and Z. They're keeping their heads above water. They're doing the best they can. But there are tools of evaluation. And so I would love to be a part of the conversations to make sure that our teachers are evaluated fairly and equitably across the district. Some schools are more difficult to teach at than others, and I want to make sure that our teachers are heard in the decisions of how we are evaluating them. They're the ones in the classrooms. They're the ones that understand what's going on the day-to-day, and so there are tools for evaluating teachers, and I think that teacher certification is very important. We need to make sure we have the best and the brightest in our district. We need to make sure that we're bringing in that top talent, because if we're also concerned about marketing ourselves to parents and families to bring their students into the district, our teachers are some of the best marketing tools. If we have great teachers, then our families and parents are going to want to choose LISD. So we need to make sure that we have rigorous evaluations. We need to make sure that we're bringing in the best and brightest. And our teachers are the backbone of our district. And so to make sure that they stay that way, to make sure that our teachers feel the support that they need to know that the people they're working with are the best and brightest as well. So I think that we have the tools there. We can improve those tools. We can have those conversations, and that we can bring those teachers into the conversation.
And what is your view of homeschool, private school, and charter school students participating in extracurricular activities in public schools?
I haven't thought about that very much, but that sounds really cool. I love when our community gets more involved in public education, and maybe our extracurriculars will be that marketing tool for those students to understand that LISD should be the number one choice for them. We have incredible opportunities in the district, and so maybe I don't know all the facts, and I need to look more into that, but that sounds like a really unique opportunity for those in our community to get more involved, to have the experiences in our schools that they might not get otherwise. Does that come with funding? That's a good question. That's what I need to look into. And so I think it's really a cool opportunity for students to get more involved, and I would love to see LISD market themselves to show that those students should be with us. Those students should be a part of our extracurriculars, and not just our extracurriculars, but in the classroom.
Michelle, what is your view of homeschool, private school, and charter school students participating in extracurricular activities in public schools?
Not under our dime. Not under our dime. I feel that our students need to be here who are LASD students, and we are supporting them. We have amazing programs in LASD. It is a marketing tool. I have had multiple conversations in my 2.5 years on this board with parents who have looked at homeschooling, who have looked at transferring to charter schools, and guess what? They come back. They come back. Why? Because they know the value that we offer here. They know the opportunities that we give them. And I have those conversations with parents. I had one last week who came up and said, you know what, I'm going to pull my kid out. I got to pull him out of the district. I don't know what's going on. I need to give them more time. I had the conversation with that parent and I asked them why. Is your kid involved in a club? Is your kid involved in a program? No. Get them involved. Let them find their place, because LASD is the one choice. And I want them to see that we are the one choice. And I think that our tax dollars should stay within our district, should be paying and funding our students. And it is a marketing tool. We have it. We have all of the great things. We are communicating out till we're blue in the face. I don't know if anybody follows Dr. Rapp on the road, but she is everywhere. And she is really communicating the great things that we are doing across this district. And I think that those dollars should stay here.
And what is your philosophy on the purpose of public education? And how will you ensure that all students, regardless of their background, are supported?
All students deserve public education. Every student in the state of Texas, in this nation, deserves to be educated. And we need to be able to provide. It is a law. It's in the Constitution that every student has a right to free education. And that is what we provide. We are here to make sure that every student is getting their needs met. And we will continue doing that because I firmly believe that strong public schools build our strong communities. And it's important for them to see all the great things that we have here. And I will continue supporting public education because I firmly believe that that is our future. These kids that we see on a daily basis coming and going and doing all their activities, getting involved in these programs, they're our future. These are the kids who are going to be running our state. These are the kids who are going to be running our nation. And we need to continue supporting them by providing that public education that is superb in LASD. We are the top district in LASD. I firmly believe that, and I will continue believing that.
You? And Madison, what is your philosophy on the purpose of public education, and how will you ensure that all students, regardless of their background, are supported?
I believe that every student deserves a high-quality education, regardless of their zip code, regardless of their background, and I'm a testament myself to that. Like I told you before, when we first moved to Lewisville, we were living below the poverty line, and I am so thankful to LISD and for our legislators and for the people that represent us that they are committed to public education too. Not every legislator, okay. But I'm so thankful for the people that have said yes to public education because it produces stories like mine. Like I said, my story is not in isolation. We've produced attorneys and doctors, and I'm so thankful that when we have strong public schools, we have strong communities. And I believe, just like some of our founding fathers, that without an educated public, then we're much more susceptible to tyranny. I think that it's important for our students to understand how to dialogue, how to think critically for themselves, not be told what to think, but how to think independently so that they can engage in public discourse, so that we can have strong leaders, so we can have people leading us into the future. I'm so excited to be in a public school system that really takes seriously the fact that we're raising up the next generation of leaders. I was one of those next generation leaders at one point, and people invested in me. And I want to make sure that regardless of zip code, regardless of background, socioeconomic status, race, regardless of any of those things, that our students get the high quality education and that we stay passionate about leading the next generation to become leaders, critical thinkers, independent thinkers.
And Madison, this is our final question before our closing remarks. In the face of declining resources, what projects do you foresee for future bond elections and funded projects?
Yeah, so I think, like I said, it's important for us to live within our means. I want to make sure that we are putting our money where it matters most. Is that stadiums? Personally, I don't think so. We have incredible fine arts programs, incredible extracurriculars. Where our money needs to go is in the classroom. We need to make sure that we're compensating our teachers. We need to make sure that we're investing in high quality curriculums. We need to make sure that our students receive the support, the tutors, the aides, everything that will allow them to be successful in the classroom. So I personally think we really do need to live within our means. We need to work on reducing the deficit. Like I mentioned before, we've made steps in the right direction, absolutely, but there is always room for improvement, and I want to be a part of those solutions.
No? Michelle, in the face of declining resources, what projects do you foresee for future bond elections and funding projects?
Sure. It's important to understand what a bond is for. Bond is for our facilities. It's our M&O, right? It's not for those daily operations. It's not for teacher pay. We cannot use it for that. So it's really important to look at the difference between the two buckets. Now, what are we going to look at in the future if we need to go back out for bonds? That's up to our community. Every time we have called for a bond, every time we have had those discussions, we pull together a committee. And that committee consists of educators, families, teachers, the community members, elected officials in our area. We bring them in because we want to hear what is it that they feel that we need. We have a facility management plan. It's on our website. It's been there. We have it projected out so we know exactly when those facilities are going to need to be fixed and what the plan is. It is important for us to have those conversations with our community. What do we need in this district in order to continue thriving? It's not up to me to decide. It's not up to my board to decide. It is up to that community. What are we going to do in order to thrive? And it's really important, as I said, to understand those two buckets because they are not the same.
No? And now we're ready for our closing remarks. So we'll start with Michelle, and you'll have 2 minutes, and then Madison, you'll have 2 minutes.
I don't want to forget anything, so I'm going to read. So serving on this Lewisville ISD Board of Trustees has been one of the greatest honors of my life. As a parent of 4 kiddos in this district, 4, who have gone through this district, one's graduated, 3 are still thriving in it. I was a former teacher and a principal and a taxpayer in this district for over 21 years. I've seen firsthand how strong schools build strong communities. I see it on a daily basis while I'm visiting campuses and I'm out in the community at various community events. My focus has always been on doing what is right, not what's easy. To ensure that every student has the opportunity to succeed and that every dollar is spent wisely. From addressing a deficit budget and consolidating campuses responsibly and supporting teacher pay and approving those safety measures like our Guardian program, I have worked to balance that fiscal responsibility with educational excellence. I also believe deeply in local control, transparency, and sustainability. Our families and community members deserve an experienced, responsible voice in the decisions that affect our children. They deserve someone who's involved in the trenches on a daily basis, who's out and about, who has visited every single campus. One that has been in the trenches. And I'll continue being that steady voice, informed and approachable while on this board. At the end of the day, I am running for re-election because I care deeply about this district. As I stated earlier, I moved into this district before I had kids for a reason. My reason was to be here and continue supporting. My commitment is simple: to continue leading with honesty, experience, and heart, ensuring that LISD remains a district where students thrive, teachers are valued, and our community takes pride in our schools.
And Madison, your 2-minute closing.
First of all, I want to say thank you all so much for being here tonight. It has been a pleasure getting to share my thoughts, and this entire campaign has been absolutely wonderful, just the most incredible, humbling, and beautiful learning experience. So thank you for even taking the time out of your busy schedules to come and listen to this little 26-year-old. I'm very appreciative, and I thank you, Michelle, for engaging in conversation. I am going to not take all of the 2 minutes because I've been long-winded already, but I just wanted to say that I bring to the board a fresh voice. As a young mom, a service-oriented attorney, and a proud LISD graduate, and someone who has walked the halls of some of our most vulnerable schools, I understand the challenges, the opportunities, and the hope that exists in every corner of our district. In every way, I bring a perspective that is not currently represented by the board, a perspective rooted in personal experience and professional expertise. I'm committed to LISD's vision that all of our students will be confident and equipped with the knowledge and the skills to thrive and adapt to their future. I'm committed to strengthening partnerships and communication with parents, nonprofits, and municipalities, and I will work tirelessly at the state level to fight for funding and greater transparency in the use of your tax dollars. Thank you.
Thank you both for your energy and passion tonight. Anna?
On behalf of the Lewisville Council of PTAs, I want to extend our deepest gratitude to everyone who made this evening possible, to our brave candidates. Your commitment to serve our students, educators, community here in LISD is truly commendable. You stepped up to share your vision and engage in this important conversation. Thank you. To our detailed and patient moderator and diligent timekeeper, thank you for keeping the discussion fair, balanced, and running smoothly. To our dedicated staff, administration here in LISD, thank you so much for offering the space, technology, your support tonight, demonstrating the value that you place in this informed civic dialogue. Finally, I want to thank all of you, the ones who joined us here in the room, the ones watching the live feed at home. Your presence and attention proves that the future of a district is a top priority. Informed voters create a stronger community. So please don't forget the final critical step, voting. General election day is Tuesday, November 4th. If you prefer to cast your ballot early, that starts Monday, October 20th, runs through Halloween, October 21st. We are a community that cares deeply about our schools. We urge you to take the knowledge gained here tonight, complete your research, and make your voice heard. So thank you again for joining the Lewisville Council PTAs. Have a great evening.